This is Tom Goldberg, and he's been a member since 2017. And he is our IT guru. And I don't know what the heck we do without him. So take it away, Tom.
All righty. Well, first I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to share everything. And now I'm going to go to my PowerPoint and put that on and just check everybody can see that.
Yep.
All right. So as Tina said, I've been a member of the Camera Club since 2017. I've been a photographer for most of my life. But kind of late to the digital revolution. And I started out using iPhoto on the Mac, and then Apple changed over to Photos, or yeah, Apple Photos and from iPhoto. And I found it to be really difficult. So I went out and bought a copy of Lightroom 6. And back in the days of when Kelby did seminars. Scott Kelby did seminars. I went to a Scott Kelby seminar. This is not coming out very good. This is the workbook they gave us from the session I went to, and I learned how to do uh, Lightroom from their presentation in a ballroom in the convention center with about 300 of my closest friends, and was really valuable. So most of what I'm gonna show you is things I learned from them. So as far as Lightroom's library goes, it has um, these tools for managing your photos. This is pretty much everything I think that Lightroom provides. You can set up multiple libraries. You can set up multiple folders within Lightroom. You can have your own user folders. And then aside from your physical organization on the computer, that would be folders, you can create albums or what Lightroom calls collections. And then you can label your photos with keywords, or in today's parlance, that's really tags or hashtags. You can tag your photos with any words you want, and that's really useful. And then Lightroom also gives you flags, star ratings, and color ratings. And people use those all different kinds of ways. I'm going to talk about how I use them. Um, Lightroom offers multiple libraries. Kelby recommends that you only create one. Most photographers don't have a need for multiple libraries, but if you're a professional photographer, you might want to have one for your commercial work and one for your private work. Um, I create a library for my own stuff, and then when we do club contests, I have a separate library for them. And when we do the Mount Evans calendar, I have a separate library for that. Those photos really need to be segregated. They have nothing in common. I mean, my own personal entry may be in all three libraries, but everything else is going to be different. So that's a reason why you might want multiple libraries, but most people don't need that. When you access the library within uh, Lightroom, it's worth learning a few keyboard shortcuts. E to examine, G for the grid view, and D for your develop. So those three, I'm going to ask you to learn 6 keyboard shortcuts. Um, Lightroom is really good for operating with keyboards. You can do everything from a mouse, but here I am in grid view. If I go E, I'm looking, whoops, let me go back to grid view. Oh, it changed me. I've got my whole library here. Okay, pick a picture. When I hit E, I'm examining a photo. So that's E for examine, G for grid, or D for develop. Now I'm in develop mode, and you can see I've got different menus on the sides, and this is when I'm going to process my picture. But we're talking about the library, so I'm going to be in E. And now you can see I've got in the left-hand column all the metadata for this picture. I have to get my little zoom window out of the way. Whoops. Now I made the zoom window take over. That was not what I wanted. Uh, Excuse me. This is not. Are you guys seeing Zoom?
Yeah, Tom, we can see your photos here. This happened to me when I was doing a Zoom thing the other day, and I'm trying to remember how I got out of it.
It's this view thing right here. I want to be back to. Oh, maybe I need to be back to share.
I think
No.
that's what
Oh,
it's like.
oh, I know how to fix this. Go back to Lightroom. There we go. uh, all right. So I was talking about my keyboard shortcuts and grid, examine, and develop. So E, G, and D. I don't know if you know these or not, but it's the fastest way. And there are lots of other ways to get between these. But in fact, if you're in grid view, you can usually just hit the space bar to see it. But these, if you're in develop, and you want to see the metadata, you can just hit E and that takes you back to library view. So those three, E, G, and D, are worth learning. And then we're going to go to import. And this is the import page. Now that is the keyboard shortcut for that is Command Option I or Control Option I on a PC. But the reason I'm going here right now is to talk about the options you have in the library is to copy, move, or add. So let's go back to my slide view here and talk about these. Copy makes a copy of the photos that you select and puts them into the folder that you designate. And this is the best way to get stuff from your camera card onto your computer. A lot of people will copy their photos over manually and then import them into uh, Lightroom, and that's what you would use the add for. You've already moved the photos over, but you want to add them to the Lightroom catalog. You can use add for that. Or if you have stuff on your computer, but it's not in the right place, you can move it into Lightroom wherever you designate. Um, these options are very handy, but pretty much I only use copy. And in the Kelby One workflow, they recommend that you create your own project folder for each project. And that requires a step. You create a folder before you import into Lightroom, and you can do it from within the import dialog, or you can create it in your operating system. But that kind of looks like this. You've got your pictures folder somewhere on your computer under your user directory. And within that, there's a Lightroom folder. And within that, you've created a photo for the project that you're going to import. Maybe you went to England in 2025, so you create a folder called England 2025. That's the way Kelby One recommended you do it. Uh, I like Lightroom's by date folders. It creates their own date folders and it's very convenient. So this way, when you've got a memory card that you want to import. Um, it creates a folder for the dates for the photos on that card. If there were 5 different dates stored on that card, it will create 5 different folders, one for each day that it was stored. And I really like that. I came, as I said, from iPhoto on the Mac, and when they went to Photos, it wasn't as good. So I imported my whole library into Lightroom, and it already had stuff organized this way. And so I just kept with it. Only I went for another level. I created 3 top-level photos, one for landscapes, one for people, and one for things. Like I take a picture of my house or my pottery. Those goes under things. I go to an art center event and I shoot a concert. That goes under people. I go out on a hike and I shoot a bunch of pictures in landscapes. That goes under landscapes. And I may have people in my landscapes or landscapes in my people. That's not a big deal. But this organization lets me easily organize my stuff um, in a way that I can find it. And I don't know whether this will work for you. Maybe you need different top level folders that meet your needs, but this is an organization that I've used. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that now. I will go to import, and I've got a camera card up there. I don't want to import from my library. I want to import from, it's not seeing this camera card that I just put in there. Let me reinsert that. There it is. So here are the photos that are on my recent camera card. I'll make these thumbnails a little bit smaller. There was an event that I shot at the art center. There was an artist doing a painting in half an hour. It was pretty amazing. And then I went on a hike. I have more pictures on here than I thought I did. Come on.
To get to these thumbnails smaller, you just go over to the right and there's that thumbnail thing. It's a slider.
Right, it's a slider. Makes them big or small. Man, I have a ton of these pictures, and this is very annoying. Yeah, this was the opening of the. Okay, now we're getting to the pictures that I'm interested in. I went for a hike in Mayhem Gulch, and then there was a snake on the road, and then there was a deer standing by the side of the road. There are more people. But what I'm going to do here is I'm not even going to wait for it to finish. I'm going to uncheck all my pictures because I don't want to import all these at once. What I really want to do is just import the landscapes. So I'm going to pick my landscape folder, and I don't have to pick which subfolder it is. It tells me that, oh, well, I've got photos on all these dates, but I'm going to just select the ones from my Mayhem Gulch hike, and I'm going to highlight them by clicking on the first one. And this works just like anything on the computer. Then I'll hold the Shift key down and click on the last one. And now I've selected those photos. You can see they're highlighted. I'll click on the checkbox, and now it checked all the ones that were highlighted. If maybe I wanted to add some more, I could highlight them or not. Let me get rid of those. I'm just going to highlight these. And those you can see were all shot on 9/15. I will import 11 photos. So fine, we'll do that. I'm going to import 11 photos. And now Lightroom is really, really capable. I can go on and continue working with my other photos. I can develop or whatever. And in the background up here in the upper left-hand corner, you can see Lightroom is copying and importing those photos off of that memory card. And then if I go back into my library, go back to grid, and I go down to 2025, I can see, oh, on that date, it's imported 8 photos. Oh, now it's got all 11. And there they are. I've got my photos in the library. And the first thing I'm going to do is all these photos were shot at Mayhem Gulch. So I'm going to go into my keywords and identify them as Mayhem Gulch. Now they're filed. I can always find any pictures that I took at Mayhem Gulch simply by going and finding them. And we'll demonstrate that. I'm going to go ahead back to the top of my landscape masters, and let's say I shot some pictures 3 years ago in Butler Gulch. So I'll type Butler, and oh, there are the pictures from Butler Gulch. You can see the keyword matched Butler Gulch, and there I've got my pictures from Butler Gulch, or I don't know, any place else I've been. If I wanted to look for falls, there are some pictures from various falls. These are Maxwell Falls. But keywords are a fantastic way to organize your photos. All right, I'm going to go back to my slides and just check on where I'm at here. Okay, so reviewing the photos. Now that I've imported them, I want to review them. And the quickest way to do this was one of the handiest things I learned from the Kelby seminar. And we'll just delete this search and go back to the photos. Well, I'll just go to 2025 and the day. So I find it very handy to keep these things by day. You almost don't need any other index for them. You can, oh, gee, sometime last summer, I shot this particular bunch of photos. So you just can go look at your photos from that summer. So anyway, we're going to go and grade these. And this is what the pick and unpick and mark for deletion is. P, U, and X. I told you I was going to ask you to learn 3 keyboard shortcuts, and these are the other 3. The first were E, D, and G for edit, grid, and develop. And this is pick, unpick, and delete. So I'm going to go look at these, and I'm going to quick zoom through them. They're not very good pictures, but I had fun out there. It was a nice day. And okay, that's it. 11 photos. Well, they're pretty crappy. This one's particularly crappy. I'm going to put an X on that. I don't like it. I'm going to delete it. And here are 2 photos that are nearly the same. This one doesn't have too much in the foreground. I'm going to reject that too. And there's some people going by, and nice picture up the valley. There's a close-up or a distant one. And these are the same. I'll delete this one. So I've now picked 3 pictures for deletion. And I'll maybe pick this one with a P because I want to work on that. Maybe I like this and I'm going to develop it. So I've put a P on there and is now flagged. And I'll also pick this one because I like that too. Not really, but it wasn't a particularly good day, but here we are. So I've now got 2 pictures that I've flagged for further work and 3 pictures that I've flagged for deletion. And you can see that down in the bar at the bottom. There's a deleted one, there's a deleted one, there's a deleted one, and here are the 2 that I picked. But I can also, if I've got 50 of these, I can just use this search bar, which appears above the slide rule. And if I just hit the flag one, now I've just got the 2 that I flagged. And if I pick the X one, Now I've got the 3 I marked for deletion. And if I pick the blank one, these are the ones that I didn't flag at all. So that is how I review my photos to decide what I'm going to work on, what I'm going to keep. And the blurry ones, the boring ones, those are the X'd out ones. You just want to get them off your disk. And in photo, there's a delete rejected photos. This is going to get rid of those 3 photos. Lightroom is really stupid. It asks you, the default is you want to remove these from your catalog, from Lightroom's catalog, but it's going to leave them on the disk. That crusts up your hard disk with photos that A, you'll never find anymore because they're not in Lightroom, and B, you don't want anyway. So when this dialog comes up, always, always, always choose delete from disk. Now what it's actually going to do is move them into the trash. So if you made a mistake and you really want them back, you can go to your computer's trash and get those photos back. But I didn't want them, so they're gone now. And now I have 8 photos left that I want to keep and 2 that I'm going to work on later in the develop module. And maybe I'll do a presentation in the future on how I use the develop module, but tonight that's not part of my presentation. I'm talking about how to use the library. So this is what I mentioned, deleting photos you want to always remove from disk. You don't want to delete them from Lightroom and have them hanging around and you'll never see them again. You may end up with discrepancies. And Lightroom has a couple of tools that help that. So if I right click on this folder, on this image, or any image anywhere in Lightroom, it gives a pop-up menu, or this is also command or control click. There is somewhere in here, show in Finder, and or show in Windows. This brings up the actual Finder view or Windows view of the image and the folder that it's in. I can see that that's within the dated folder for it, and that's with, whoops, wrong view, sorry. And that's within my Lightroom Landscape Masters, and that's within my Pictures folder, etc. But I can see all this information about what happened within that folder. If there's a discrepancy, which sometimes there is, sometimes you've manually moved a folder over, an image over that you want on that particular date. Maybe you shot it with a different device or it imported wrong, whatever. You can play around in Finder and get the stuff moved around where you want it. And then you can use the library synchronized folder dialog to import them. Now, in this particular case, there are no new photos. Everything is correct. There's no reason to synchronize. But if I had added something, it will show me in this dialog that there's a discrepancy, and I can go ahead and synchronize that and have Lightroom correct the library to reflect the way your hard disk is. And you can use this at any time to really correct things and make sure stuff is right. You can actually go to the top level folder. I can go into 2025 and synchronize folder. And now it's going to look for every picture that I shot in 2025 and see whether there's stuff that I moved over there. Well, I'm fairly careful so there are no mistakes, but I guarantee you, you work with Lightroom long enough, you're going to find photos that got in there somehow. And this tool is really, really good for correcting that. So that's your show in Finder and synchronized folder. Lightroom provides a whole bunch of other ways to organize your photos. So the first one is to use the collections. Well, over here in the left-hand column, underneath my pictures folder, oops, above it, I've got my, no, it's underneath. I've got my collections. So these are albums. And I created an album, for instance, for all the pictures of flowers that I have with bees in them. Because I play spelling bee on uh, New York Times, and they accept submissions of bees and flowers. So I've been collecting those for that. Or I can create, here's a picture of my mom's pottery, a folder that I created. So these folders, you can have as many as you want. You can nest them. You can do all kinds of things with them. I don't use them a lot because I use the keywords mostly for my organization, but I do use them for my calendars. I build a calendar every year. Here are the photos I'm collecting for next year's calendar. I may or may not use them. These are the ones I used in last year's calendar, etc. So that's collections. You also have the ability to assign colors to images, and that's under photo. You can set a color label, or you can set a rating. Most people use this quite a bit, is they put a star rating on photos. You can have a star of 1 to 5, and those are your number keypad. Lets you assign those. So if we go back to where I was in my, oops, in the photos that I imported, maybe I want to give this photo a 2. I hit the 2, and now it's a 2. And if I look at all the photos for the year, I can just hit the 2 on this bar, and I can see that I've got 3 photos that I assigned a 2 to. Or in 2024, it appears I have no photos that I assigned a 2 to, but quite a few that I assigned a 1 to. I'm fairly stingy with my photos. Most people, with my stars, most people use more stars than that. But that's the star rating. You can also assign colors, as I mentioned, and those are, you can use the number keys after the 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and 10 and 0 rather for setting your colors. And if you hit them again, should turn them off. Maybe it didn't. I'll worry about that later. But I don't tend to use color ratings very much. But they are another tool for sorting your photos. For a while, I used to use purple P for photos that I'd published, that I'd actually made prints of or entered into contests or whatever into shows. But I wasn't very good about it, so purple no longer indicates that. But that's an idea of how you could use it. And then the last thing was, oh, the quick collection. Command B takes you to quick collection, or it's up here in your thing. And let me turn off my filters. I added all these photos to try to pick the black and whites that I was going to enter into tonight's contest. So when you're looking through photos, if you just hit the B, I don't know why it's a B, but that's the keyboard shortcut. B adds a photo or toggles the quick collection for that photo. So if I'm in any folder and I'm looking around at my pictures and I want to add this to my quick collection, I can just go ahead and hit the B, and that's now in my Command B, my quick collection. So that's another handy way to organize your photos temporarily. So, like I said, that was a good way for me to organize my photos into the black and white contest tonight. The last thought I want to leave you with is an opinion of my own. I talk to a lot of photographers who go out and they have their memory cards for one for RAW, one for JPEG, or they shoot them both onto their whatever. I never shoot JPEGs. Where are you going to put them? It's a library management issue that I have not solved, so I can't tell you how to organize them. But the thing about the RAWs, the JPEGs, is if you're in Lightroom adjusting your RAW images, those adjustments never impact your JPEGs. Or even worse, maybe you accidentally were adjusting your JPEG, not your RAW image. So all your edits went into the wrong file. So the other thing is whatever JPEG size you have your camera store, it's not going to be right for what you do. Pretty much I use 3 different sizes for JPEGs. I use 1200 pixels, which I call a 1K image. And that's for anything I'm going to email to somebody or post on the web. They don't really need to be larger than that. Or if I'm going to enter it into a contest or maybe print it, then I want it large, and I'll use 3000 pixels, or I'll use the full-sized whatever pixels I've got from the camera or from the crop. And Lightroom's export lets you do this very easily. And I'm going to go back to Lightroom, and let's say I want to export this image. That is Command Option E, or in the Lightroom File Export menu. Here are the presets that I created. It's a 1K export. I have a folder on my desktop called 1K, like LR1K. And I just take whatever picture I want and I export it as a resized image to 1200 pixels. Very efficient size. I have it sharpen it for screen because these are images that I'm going to email or post on the web. And I don't do anything else to it. Very simple dialogue, very easy way to export your photo. And now all I got to do is click on export, and I'm going to make that. And I can, of course, highlight a whole bunch of them. I can export all of these at the same time. Now it's going to export 5 files. And if we just look at my desktop, somewhere here, here's my 1K export. And here are all the images that I've exported. And those were from my 1K export, or the higher quality ones, full res or 3K. That's why I don't ever need to shoot JPEGs, because Lightroom creates them for me at the size and quality that I need, and there's no point in clogging up your disk with them. That concludes my presentation.